Hi, I'm Spray Chambers. I am a Reiki master and teacher. I'm an intuitive healer and a certified Ho'oponopono practitioner. And I have also been a licensed esthetician for almost 30 years now. I'm located here in beautiful San Pedro, California, and we are here in Spray's Sanctuary, the home of Reiki Aesthetics. I was born right here in Southern California, went to school here all my life, and I also went to the university here where I was studying psychology and philosophy and art. I had been planning to most likely become a psychologist, but when I was going to school, I had been doing a little bit of modeling on the side, and I had a phone call one day from a friend of mine who was in Hawaii, and he was doing videos. He was shooting underwater photography, and he asked me if I would like to come and model for him when I was on my break. So I did that. I went to Hawaii. I started working with him. I absolutely fell in love with Hawaii. It was so beautiful. And I was working there as an underwater photography model. So I learned how to scuba dive. And during that time, I'd had so much work, I ended up just staying in Hawaii, and I did not return to school. So as time went on, I lived in Hawaii almost 7 years. I got into acting over there, and I was acting on some shows like Hawaii Five-0, different movies that would come. And I actually got an offer to come here to LA to work on a TV show. So I did that, and I came here thinking I would only do that one job and go back. But again, I did not. I stayed here. I was working in the movie industry. I was having a wonderful time, and I met my husband, who was also an actor. And so I did not go back to Hawaii. And when my husband and I were married, I had made a decision to go into another career. I was offered a job as a trainer and an esthetician with a skincare company. It was a major skincare company, and I would be traveling all over, not the country, but all over Southern California, and I would be teaching. And so that was a wonderful job for me. I enjoyed it. I was traveling a lot at that time, and we were good. Everything was going great. And what happened was, one day I received a phone call at work. I was working as an esthetician at that moment, and my husband called and said, I got my tests back from the doctor. He had not been feeling well. And they tell me I had stage 4 cancer, and I only have 8 weeks to live. Well, that was pretty devastating, obviously, for both of us. Both our lives stopped right then. We didn't know what to do. We were looking at all kinds of treatments. We were looking at conventional, and then I started looking at doing alternative treatments for him. We ended up working with him. I learned about juicing, about detoxing the body. I also learned about the emotional state and how he could feel happier to pull himself out of fear. All these things were helping so much that he started getting better. We were seeing energy healers at that time, and I could see that every time he would go, he would start feeling better. I didn't know about energy healing then. I didn't know about Reiki, but we proceeded, and for another 2.5 years, he lived. I learned a lot about healing at that time. My husband did not live after that. He made his transition in 2004. I really stopped working then. I didn't know what to do. I didn't really know what my purpose was. And during that time, I was very, very blessed to meet a gentleman named Alberto Amora, who came to my home through a mutual friend to ask me if I would take his dog. My doggie had also died. And he was moving here from New Mexico. I didn't know anything about him, but I thought it would be nice to have a companion. So Alberto came to my door, and when we met, we just knew each other right away. And he told me that he was a Reiki master and that he had been working in New Mexico as a professor of metaphysics. I would give them the Reiki with their facials, and I noticed that they just started feeling so good right away. And they actually looked beautiful. They were glowing. They would a lot of times like it better than just doing the facial. So eventually what happened is I became a practitioner. I started giving full Reiki treatments, and I began to have clients just coming to me for only Reiki. And it was interesting because they would have that beautiful glow whether I gave them a facial or not. So I thought that that would be something that would motivate them to want to receive more Reiki. And I also noticed that I started feeling better. And as I was feeling better, giving them their treatments, my colleagues that I was working with in the spa were seeing me do these treatments, and they were saying, will you teach me how to do that on my clients? I want to do that. They would see how good they looked. And so I did begin teaching Reiki, and that is really when I started teaching. I was just showing the professionals how to do a touch of Reiki for their clients. And as that progressed, I began teaching more and more people. I had professionals coming to me. I had doctors and people in the healthcare profession, a lot of different people who were more in conventional modes of treatment were interested in going a little bit further into it. So that was how I kind of got started. My business transitioned organically, and I ended up in 2020, I ended up, when we had the pandemic, coming home, being here, and I learned how to teach online. I think I'm going to tell you about how I got the name Spray, because I forgot about that. Okay. Everybody always asks me where I got the name Spray. So I just wanted to tell you, when I was working in Hawaii, I was born Deborah Rosso. That is my maiden name, and my legal name is Deborah. So I am a Debbie. And when we were working in Hawaii as models, we had 3 Debbies working, doing modeling underwater, and it was very confusing on which Debbie he was addressing as the photographer. So we made up some names just to tell ourselves apart, and they started calling me Ocean Spray. So when I was working with them, I was Spray, and then I got into the movie industry there, as I mentioned, and I went into the movie industry under Spray. So I have been Spray ever since. And when I came here to LA, I was Spray, and it's been that ever since then. What the treatments I do are hands-on Reiki treatment, is my normal way of doing Reiki. I flow Reiki through the palms of my hands. When I am doing a one-on-one session with someone, I will start by connecting with them. We work with the chakra system, and what Reiki does is flow energy through the palms all the way through the entire body of the person, and that helps them to be in alignment. And that is what I do as a Reiki practitioner. It really is the same thing. When I do distance, I put my hands in exactly the same place. Something unique that I do here at the sanctuary is I work with plants. And I've had my students ask me over the years to show them how I work with plants and how do I give Reiki to plants. So I have a little hospital here, and I show them how to flow the energy. And I have found some really interesting information lately about the plants. And that is that plants are just like us, and they're just like the animals. They know we're here, they sense us, they feel us, and they release chemicals and pheromones just like people do. So when you are working with a plant, when you want to care for a plant, and you are watering it and talking to it and loving it, that plant will respond to you. And he knows when you walk in the room. That plant knows you're there. So it is a beautiful symphony of energy, and it is in all of nature. So I include the plants with my Reiki treatments and my teaching. My Reiki teaching is done in 3 different levels. I have level 1, 2, and 3. 1 is the first level that is mostly the energy basics. It is my biggest class most of the time. People will come, they want to learn how to heal themselves, usually is the main reason why people take Reiki 1. They want to learn how to help others as well, and they do learn how to treat their animals also. But I do find that that's the most important thing, and that is the most sought after reason for taking Reiki level 1, is that people simply want to know how to manage their energy and how to give themselves Reiki. Now, if they move on to level 2, that is the level where we learn distance healing, we learn different modalities. These are usually people who are wanting to go a little bit higher into the Reiki. They learn how to flow Reiki in many different ways, through the eyes, through the breath. We learn how to do navel healing, and all of it is at a distance, so it is the same information as we learn in our energy basics, but we're teaching that the energy has no time, space limitations at all. And we teach that Reiki can be done all over the world. It can also be done to groups. You can also send Reiki to events and situations. So it is a very valuable class to take, and that's level 2. Now, when a person goes into level 3, that is the master level. And usually those people are wanting to become practitioners. So that level, the students will learn how to do what we call an attunement, which is where we are initiating others into the modality of Reiki healing. And they'll learn auric cleansing. They'll learn how to do a heart attunement. So it's much more hands-on. And when the master graduates, they are then able to be a practitioner and to see clients. Now, I do teach one more level, which is level 4, and that level is done for the masters who want to teach, like I'm doing. So those students will then learn how to do attunements and how to teach others Reiki. I also offer my teaching online still, of course. And another thing I do online is I offer guided meditations. I used to do them here in person, normally about once a month, and we transitioned during the pandemic into doing the guided meditations just online. And what I was finding as I was teaching online and posting about my guided meditations, I was posting all of this information on my Reiki Aesthetics site on Instagram. And I was amazed at the response. I started having people contact me from all over the place, from all over the country and from different parts of the world even. So that was a big surprise to me, and that was one of the reasons why I have been able to expand my business beyond what I had thought I would be doing. So that is something we will probably be doing more guided meditations and more classes here in person, but right now I am doing both online. I integrate my services when I give a Reiki treatment with all the knowledge that I have, mostly calling back on my esthetician experience of 30 years. I've been very comfortable being hands-on with people. So when I give a Reiki treatment, I can't help but incorporate a little bit of my esthetician movements. I may touch a little bit more, because when we flow Reiki, we can have the hands above. We don't have to touch. And I do that. Many times I will touch them and maybe do a little bit more that would be more like what I was giving as an esthetician. So might be a little bit more than what just a straight trained Reiki person would be doing. And also, one thing I wanted to mention is that when I'm working with a client and they are having or having problems in relationships, it's usually what the problem is, or maybe even at a workplace, not being able to get along with someone. People tend to feel like victims very often. They are in a situation where they have to be around someone, they have to be in this particular situation, they don't know what to do when they feel the stress of it. Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian practice, and basically it was teaching the people how to resolve their relationships with each other through forgiveness and love and kindness and all of the higher vibrations. So I will use that often with people who are having a little bit deeper trouble, and there are 4 affirmations in Ho'oponopono, which you can say all of them, or you can just say one. You can say it to yourself. You do not need to say it to the other person, but you can repeat it as often as you want to. And the affirmations are: during that time, my father died, my mother died, my brother passed away, and my special doggie that had come to be here with Alberto's dog, who also passed away, was my only friend that was left here. He was Reiki, my dog that I had raised from a puppy, and he was like my child. He was getting older. He wasn't able to take care of himself. And even though he was the only thing that I would come home to every day, and we loved each other very much, I knew that he could no longer care for himself, and I had to make that decision to help him make his transition. I started seeing a lot of different doctors. I started seeing a lot of therapists. No one really could tell me what was wrong with me. But I knew that in my heart, I knew that I could get better. I knew that I had walked before. I knew I could walk again. But every day I'd get up, I'd have to use a cane. I could not move on my own. I continued going to work. I would still come home. I would sit in silence, and I would ask for help, and I would ask for guidance. So I started to visualize myself walking. I could see myself walking down a hall, and I would see myself saying, look at me, I'm walking to nobody. So I finally met a doctor who gave me 2 new hips, which completely changed my life. I'm able to walk now. I feel fantastic. Had healed me now the second time. So I just wanted to say to anybody that's watching, don't give up. When you have challenges in your life, you have to know that they're there for a reason, and that there's always a silver lining with everything. You really can do, be, or have whatever you want. You can do it. When you trust yourself, when you go to your heart, you find what you really is making your heart sing, and you follow it.
Perfect.
And I ask that the God in me greet the God in you.